Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stressed here, and I'm going to be starting a new series. This series is going to involve the MMO RTS Starcraft 2, made by Blizzard. The series is going to be covering a lot of points. I'm basically going to be starting from the beginning, explaining Starcraft from the basics to the top tier kind of stuff. As you can see here, my name is Rubix. Sweet fucking name. I'm the blue Terran in the upper right hand, and my opponent, King of Fluby, is the red Protoss on the lower left. We are playing on Shakuras Plateau, if I am not mistaken. Okay, so, you're brand fucking new to the game, okay? That's how I'm going to start this. This little deal that I'm clicking on right here, that's a mineral field. These little guys right here, SCVs, probes, or drones, will go to these, mine them, and return them to your command center, nexus, or hatchery, lair, or hive, depending on your race. I'm going to be speaking strictly about Terran in this video. I will make videos for the other races at a later date, but Terran is the race I played the most, and I figured I'd cover it first. This right here is a Vespian Geyser. It's basically just like minerals, but it's more for higher tier units. When I say higher tier, like some unit examples would be Marauders or Stalkers, and you'll see both later in this replay. Up in the upper right hand, you can see my opponent, King Fluby, and me, Rubix, and you can see our minerals, Vespian, and our supply. What supply is, okay, let me give an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 guys. 6, 11. So I have 6 guys out of 11. 11 is the max that you can make at this point. But if I were to take one of these guys, once I have 100 minerals, I could go and build a supply depot, which would then raise my supply, allowing me to make more units. Helpful. Necessity. You can't play the game without it, in other words. Right here is the command center. This is where you can train SCVs, which will go build things, mine, and gather Vespian gas. You can also upgrade it, I should say, not transform, into an orbital command, which has its perks, and planetary fortress, which also has its perks. Most Terran buildings can lift off and move location, and it is the only race that can do so. But let's start the replay. As you can see, I send all my SCVs to work, and they gather minerals. As you can see, they gather 5 at a time. The normal amount of SCVs you want to have working at one base is roughly 20 to 25-ish, is what I go for. Let's pause it right here. As you can see, I have 3, 6, 9 so far. As you can see by my 9 supply. I also have the supply count up here on the top for your convenience. That way you don't have to be squinting in the upper right corner. And I've been building SCVs, and I got to 9, and I saved up minerals, and I decided to build a supply depot. And I already explained what that does. That raises your supply count, so I can make more Marines, SCVs, and so on. Some units take more supply than others. As you can see, SCVs only take 1. But in later tier Terran units, say a Thor for example, they take 6 supply, but they're a much stronger, more battle-oriented, more expensive unit. Takes longer to build, need more resources to build it, and so on. So let's keep going. He starts building, and don't worry about where he goes. I will leave all of that for a later date because that's more of an advanced topic. Let's pause right here. As you can see, I sent that SCV away to go do something we're not going to speak of in this video, and sent another SCV to come down here and build a barracks. What a barracks is, it's like the bread and butter of the Terran, so to speak. What a barracks does is you can train Marines, Marauders, Reapers, and Ghosts. Those are all fairly cheap, cost-effective units, but can still be extremely good. And a perk to the barracks is, let's go fast forward to when the barracks finishes. Don't worry about whoever just came to my base. Don't even worry about it. Don't pay any attention to that right now. Okay. You can see right down here, there's Tech Lab and Reactor. What a Tech Lab does is it gives you very basic upgrades that you can get for either your Marines, Marauders, or Reapers. The only one that isn't included in the Tech Lab is the Ghost, but they have a completely separate structure for their upgrades. What a Reactor does is... Okay, let me back up to the Tech Lab. You have to have a Tech Lab to be able to make Marines, Marauders, and Ghosts. Or Marauders, Reapers, and Ghosts. I'm sorry. You don't need a Tech Lab at all to make Marines. You could choose not to put anything on it and still make Marines. Like, Marines are always going to be there. Let's move on to the Reactor. What the Reactor does is it allows you to make 2 Marines at one time. As you can see, each Marine has its separate training time. Each Marine trains in 25 seconds, costs 1 food and 50 minerals. And as they train, they'll come out, and if you look at this white line right here, that's a rally point. So you can select a building that can produce units, and say I click like over here somewhere. Like if I were to go over here, and that little white line would be over there, that means those units would spawn and immediately go to that area. It's nice because you don't have to position your stuff all around by yourself. You can have them go where you need them at the time. You don't have to select one at a time, move them, one at a time, move them, blah, 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 or just wait and then move them all at once. They'll just go as soon as they're made, which is extremely helpful. And you can also do that with the command center and SCVs. You can see for the SCVs, it's an orange line. That just kind of dictates to make sure that you know that it's coming from the command center. I'm not particularly sure why they made it orange. It's just distinct, like, hey, that's my workers. As you can see, I have it rallied to this mineral field. That means as soon as this SCV is done, it will directly go to that mineral field and begin mining. And if there's already somebody on it, it will go to the nearest open mineral field. And right here, you can see another one of my SCVs building a refinery. For Terran, that is what allows SCVs to go inside of it, harvest Vespian gas, and bring it back to your command center. Unlike minerals, you can only bring back 4 Vespian at a time, opposed to the 5 minerals. A little bit slower, Vespian's a little bit more valuable, it does a lot more in late game, and so on. But let's keep going. As you can see, I'm getting a little bit high on my supply, so I build another supply depot, as well as having Marines training. See, he immediately goes to the spot where I want him, and my SCVs are all going. I was a little slow with getting this up. The optimal for any refinery is 3 SCVs. That's optimal. It'll go at max efficiency. Any more, any less is suboptimal, obviously. More or less goes without saying. But I'm considering you guys complete noobs. As you can see right now, I'm putting a tech lab on my barracks. He lifted up, moved over, so we'd have space to build it. Let's pause really quick. And like I said before, just to reiterate, what this tech lab is going to allow me to do is build Marauders and Reapers and Ghosts, but I need an extra building for Ghosts. That I'll be covering higher tier units in a different video, another replay, and such. Also, what the tech lab is going to be able to do is, let me fast forward. You can see now if I click on the tech lab, there's 4 upgrades I can get. I can get Marine Combat Shield, which gives these guys 10 more health. Stim Pack, which increases Marine and Marauder movement speed and fire rate, or rate of fire, but it also takes away a little bit of their health. Really helpful, but risky in certain situations. And then there's Research Concussive Shell. Whenever a Marauder, let me fast forward a little bit till I get a Marauder out. These guys right here, these big Hulk looking guys, whenever they shoot and hit something, it'll immediately slow that target down, giving your guys the chance to catch up with them and gun them down. Extremely helpful if you're going to be running with Marauders. It's almost a necessity in my book. It may not be for some people, but that's the way I view it. And you can see that I just put down another supply depot. See that supply? Yep, I'm not supply blocked. Just wait for it. I fuck up. And as you can see up here, I built another refinery, so I've got both of my Vespian geysers going, and I'm gaining gas basically as fast as I can at this time. Let's keep going. On this barracks right here, I'm putting down a reactor, so with that I'll be able to be pumping out 2 Marines at a time. Very helpful, and it's just a really quick way to boost your Marine numbers, and if you really need to get them out quick and in larger amounts, this is the way to go. But let's go back to the Marauder. As you can see right here, if you look right above where my cursor is, you'll see that it takes 2 food. So every Marauder takes up 2 supply up here, which, guess what? I just got supply blocked. James wasn't paying attention. What a great replay for me to do, right? But let's fast forward a little bit. Bam, unsupply blocked. My guys are back to coming out. Okay, we're about to witness the first little exchange of this match. And you can see down here on the minimap, here comes my opponent. I'll slow it down to normal speed. This is just what an average battle will look like. A small scale battle. This is very early game, very low tier units, fairly inexpensive on both sides, but both, like I said before, very useful units. And sadly, I wasn't smart enough to use my Marine and Marauder stem. I think I was mashing the Y button at this time. Don't worry about what all that jazz was right there. That will be all included in my Protoss video. I pursue these guys down just to whittle their numbers down as much as I can. And because of that, if you look in the units lost tab, he's lost 13 and 1,850 resources overall. That's how much resources he had to spend to make those 13 guys. I lost 7 and only 500. As you can tell, Terran is a very cheap race. They're not super expensive, but they are a little weaker, in my personal opinion. Like, one Stalker versus one, or one Zealot versus one Marine, Zealot normally wins. Just that kind of deal. As you can see up here, I'm like, okay, I kind of identify what strategy he's going to be playing as, and I have the minerals to do so, so I go ahead and build 2 more barracks. And okay, let me show you something really quick. You can see that this SCV right here was just building that supply depot, and immediately went to go and build that structure, my engineering bay. What you do is, when you send your SCV to go build something, you always want to hold down shift, and either click them back on the mineral patch, or have them go and build another structure. You never want to have an SCV just sitting around. That is wasted minerals, wasted building time, and so on. Just try to keep your SCVs busy. Don't just have them sitting around doing nothing. And right here, you can see my orbital command. I spoke about that earlier. It's an upgrade for the command center. And I said it had some perks, and here they are. The Mule, it's basically like a timed super SCV. I'm not completely sure on the time. If somebody could please tell me the exact time on it, that'd be much appreciated. But they gather a lot more minerals than normal SCVs do. Then there's the extra supplies, which is basically it drops a box down onto an existing supply depot and gives you 5 extra supply. It's handy in those really tight supply block moments, but I don't recommend it. Just, it's better just to take the time and either get the extra minerals or use the scanner suite. So let's look at my opponent's base and look at my view really quick. So if I were to use my scan, if I scanned right here, it would show a certain radius of his base. Because right now, I don't know what's there. But if I turn on his camera so I can see that, that's what I would see if I were to scan. And I'd know that I was getting some 4-gate aggression. And like I said, this will all be explained in later videos. Just stick with me. I'm not trying to lose you guys yet. I'm keeping it very, very simple, or as simple as I can. Alright, let's keep going. And then I believe it's this SCV that's routed. Oh, nope. It's this one. He just finished building the barracks. And I have him come over here and build another command center. What building another command center, nexus, or hatchery does is it basically gives you another base. It's another place for you to put a command center and have SCVs mining and not have to make it long distance. So as you'll see here coming up, I'll get it finished and then I'll move it, lift off and move it down here and begin to mine with it, or mine with the SCVs. I turn it into an orbital command first, just in the essence of time and making it safe so I can immediately come in and drop down mules from both my orbital commands. As you can see, I start producing SCVs and bam, I have 2 bases going. That means I have twice the resources that are coming in, because as you can see over here, my opponent never took a second base, which it's called macro when you take bases and you move around the map, and it's basic overall map control is what macro is. That is like Zerg, it's very apparent in, but Terran, not so much. I normally run 3 to maybe 4 bases if it's going really, really late game. But getting an extra base is just what you need to kind of push you over the edge, to give you that few extra minerals, that little bit of extra Vespian gas. It's just, it can make, it's a necessity, once again, to play a game. It's very, very hard to win a game on one base. It's damn near impossible if your opponent expands. You'll be so far behind economically that it's an uphill battle that you're not about to win. And I just lost my train of thought. Damn it. Okay, well, moving on. As you can see right here, this is a turret. It shoots only air units, but it's also a detector. What a detector does is there are stealth units in the game, such as Dark Templar, Banshees if you get the upgrade, and Zerg can burrow their units. And those units you can't see unless you have a detector. And what a detector does is it allows you to see it. So say a Dark Templar was right here, and he was about to go and wail on this supply depot. If I didn't have that there, I'd have to wait for energy and then use a scan, because scans do the same thing as a detector. You can scan the certain area. If there's a cloaked unit there, it will illuminate it and let your army be able to see it, and hopefully you'll be able to take it out in time. If not, you're going to have kind of a problem, and you better start building turrets, because dealing with cloaked units can be a real pain if you're not ready for it. But as you can see, this game didn't go very late, so I didn't get this expansion running as well as I should have. And again, what I said about the SCV count, right here I have, I believe, 19, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, oh wow, 17. Jesus, I really suck. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, optimal is right around 20 to 25. At least that's the basis I stick to. Some people do it differently, some people do it the same, some people use less. It's all personal preference. That's the beauty about this game, is it's all you. It's all your personal preferences. mashed together, and you can play however the hell you want. If you're winning and it's kind of an off-the-wall play style and people are like, what the hell was that? That's awesome. That means you've come up with your own style of playing. Don't go off of just what I do. Do what you want to do. But let me explain a few more buildings here. This is an engineering bay. It has multiple upgrades. The two major ones is infantry weapons and infantry armor. What that does is it makes these guys tougher to kill and makes them hit harder. So that's extremely helpful. There's 3 upgrades to be had. 3 weapons upgrades, 3 armor upgrades, and as you can see, this one's researching upgrade armor 1, and this one just finished attack number 1. And as you can see, they progressively cost more. The first ones cost 100 minerals and 100 Vespian apiece. The second ones cost 175 apiece. And then the third ones cost 250 apiece. So they get progressively more expensive. But if you get to 3 and 3, it's really good. And that means your army is just cocked, locked, and ready to rock. A couple more of these upgrades adds 1 range to auto turrets, missile turrets, planetary fortresses, and point defense drones. What this does is it just lets those things shoot just a little bit farther, which can be really, really helpful. Neo steel frame, increase the cargo space of bunkers by 2, also provide extra cargo space for command centers and planetary fortresses. Let me pull up an SCV really quick, and right here is a bunker. It's a structure where you can put Marines, Marauders, Reapers, Ghost, or SCVs into, and they can fight out of it. What's cool about that is they have to destroy the structure to be able to get to your guys. It's just a really, as it says right there, a very defensive structure. I don't use it a whole lot, but it is very helpful. Don't take it for granted. It's there for a reason. And then structure armor, upgrade the armor of structures by 2. So if I were to click on this, armor 1. So if I use that, it would bump up to 3 armor, and that would make it a lot harder for the enemy to kill it. Right here is a factory. Let me get it finished, and okay. Every unit producing building short of the command center can have a tech lab or a reactor on it for Terran. As you can see, there are 3 units to be produced from the factory. The Hellion, fast scout, has a flame attack. It's just kind of a get in, get out, scope things out unit. I don't mass them. They're inexpensive. It's just a good scout and harass unit. I will go into what harassing and scouting is later. Yeah. Siege tank, heavy tank, can be upgraded to switch into siege mode to provide long-range artillery support. A very good unit. I almost always mix this into my gameplay. And then there's the Thor. It's basically the shit. It's very expensive, 300 minerals, 200 gas, and 6 supply. So it's not like you can make a ton of these things, and they take a minute a piece to build. And then the reactor, what it does for the factory is it allows you to make 2 Hellions at a time. But as you can see, the siege tank and the Thor both require the tech lab. What the tech lab does for the Terran side, or for the factory, is you can upgrade your Hellions so their flame attack reaches a little bit farther, I believe, and it does a bit more damage. Another upgrade is so your siege, like it says under the siege tank, can be upgraded to switch into siege mode. They go into a stationary mode. They can shoot a lot farther and a lot harder. It sounds good, but they can't shoot air, so you almost always have to have air support with them if it's going to be an air fight. And then the last upgrade for the tech lab is a upgrade for the Thor cannons, and it's a special ability they have, and they launch off, I believe, 6 rockets at a structure, unit, and so on, and it does a ton of damage. I don't normally go into it because rarely do I use the Thor. Very expensive, a lot of food, not my gig. Excuse me. But this game is coming to a close. I've given you the majority of the basics, and let's see this last engagement. Let's see this guy rage quit hard. It's quite funny. Okay, let me pause right here. Pay attention to what this guy says, and then just take a quick look at my army. Just, okay, Marines and Marauders, correct? Alright, just just wait for what he says. Granted, I do have a lot of Marines, few Marauders. A lot of Marines, very few Marauders. LOL, GG, Mass Marines, Raffle, no. And then he corrects himself, no. That is not Mass Marines. Sure, that is a shitload of Marines, but I do have Marauders mixed in there. That is one of the most common Terran strategies there is to mix Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs. I didn't get late enough into this game to go into Medevacs, but I'll explain that in the next replay I plan to do. It's an extremely long game, and there's a lot of things to go over, and I'm really excited to commentate it. But I did build one last structure. It's the armory. This is just like the engineering bay, but for factory and starport units. Starport units, as you would guess, is air units. But you can see here, upgrade vehicle weapons and defense, upgrade ship weapons and plating, whatever, plating, okay, not defense, plating, my bad. But that's about it for this replay. I win, he loses. It was a good game. He almost had me with that first push. I really don't have anything too negative to say about him. I mean, it was well played, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and please, please, please give me feedback of what I should do more of, what I should do differently, what I should take out, what I should do less of. Just give me feedback, because this would be really cool if a lot of people started enjoying these videos. So I will catch you guys next time.